Right, welcome ladies and gents. This is an interesting headline I did not think I was going to see. But Aaron Taylor Johnson, the star of Kraven the Hunter, a film that's now ready to go, I think, in post-production, is the rumoured frontrunner for James Bond after a secret audition. Now, take it with a pinch of salt, because it comes from The Sun. The Sun is a shit rag. But let's use this as a thought experiment, at the very least. Because the names that have been floated around for James Bond have all been very, very similar. Henry Cavill, Idris Elba, right? It's the same names we've seen, even Tom Hiddleston. Time and time again we've seen these names pop up. But this is one I've not seen in this conversation. And as a thought experiment, let's obviously, because this is just a rumour, nothing's confirmed, I don't hate it. I don't hate this concept, idea at all. Now, this is a picture of him in Bullet Train, where he was fantastic in Bullet Train. And that's a very fun, good film for anyone that hasn't seen it. So, interesting. Genuinely interesting. We'll take a look at this article. Before we do, ladies and gents, I'd like to hear your thoughts just on the initial concept. Aaron Taylor Johnson, James Bond, yay or nay? Drop it down below. Also, in the description box you will find a link to Mr. H Reviews Live Archives, my second channel. Please do hit subscribe over there and turn the bell notifications on. And also do that here, please. Returning individuals that are not subscribed. It'd be good to have you here. But yeah, let's take a look. There's a lot of excitement surrounding who will ultimately be chosen to play the next James Bond, with many fans concerned that their top picks, Henry Cavill, Idris Elba and Jamie Dornan, for example, will be aged out by the time the next movie finally begins shooting, which is a very real risk. Henry Cavill, for instance, he's no spring chicken anymore, and they want someone... Barbara Broccoli's rumoured to want someone pretty young, in fact, because they want an individual that's going to be around for the long haul, which makes sense. So, unfortunately, that does actually age out Henry Cavill straight from the off. Jamie Dornan, I think, is an awful pick to play James Bond. Awful. But anyway, producers Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson recently said they are looking to find an actor who will commit to the role for the long haul, with the latter later following up by making it clear that they're not planning to cast a younger actor as Daniel Craig's replacement. But they're still... they are. You can't have someone play the role that isn't younger than the likes of Daniel Craig, for instance. Now again, even this article notes it. Someone we hadn't considered who would be the perfect age, 32. 32 is not bad. You can do... you probably commit to about 4 or 5 James Bond movies. About 5 every 2 years. You could probably do that, I think. 32, that's not bad. But Aaron Taylor Johnson. I don't think anyone considered this individual. So again, take this as a thought experiment. According to The Sun, again, you probably shouldn't take this too seriously, the British actor has emerged as the front runner for the role after taking part in what they described as a top secret screen test. Again, so secret that The Sun managed to find out. So it is probably bollocks. But I want to talk about this because it's not someone that anyone has thrown into the conversation. And even if they're doing this to sort of promote him as an actor that could be in the running, I quite like this idea. Genuinely. But anyway, Taylor Johnson impressed Broccoli with an audition at Pinewood Studios, and one insider is reported to have said Aaron went for a screen test to be the next Bond in September, and producers and Barbara loved him. He is now one of the front runners. So believe it or not, the Sun has actually been right in the past, but so's we got this covered, so meh. Again, let's not completely rule it out. I want to talk about this as a thought experiment. But Taylor Johnson would be an exciting, unexpected choice. And a massive role like this is arguably a logical next step for this particular actor. Although one thing which throws this sort of out of the mix is, of course, his Craven role. You know, his Craven the Hunter role could see him committed to a multi-picture deal where he has to work, you know, pretty tirelessly for a certain amount of time. But then that's not a given, because Sony are shite with what they do and how they manage things these days. They're not the best on managing anything. They can barely manage a poop in a toilet, let alone a whole franchise like Spider-Man. So in terms of Craven the Hunter moving forwards and him having multiple movies to play, I still don't necessarily think that that will get in the way massively if this is a legitimate scoop from the Sun. But I mean, again, Taylor Johnson, for instance, very suave, can be very suave, has the athleticism needed. He's got relatively bulked up now to play Craven the Hunter as well. I think, genuinely, this chap could do it in terms of being the sort of quintessential James Bond. There are a lot of things that you want James Bond to be, and a lot of that is very, very similar, similar-ish to a Superman type, right? But more sleazy. It's got to be very clean cut. You know, Daniel Craig was a more grizzled approach, but you've got to be very clean cut. You've got to be athletic. You've got to have the very, very stereotypical strong male jawline. And then you've got to be good with the women. So again, it's sort of Superman, but, you know, very, very sleazy with it. And I think Aaron Taylor Johnson could do very well in that role. I don't know if this is as a compliment at this point, but I genuinely like him as this. Again, as a thought experiment, I like him playing James Bond. I think he could be very well. And as someone I hadn't actually seen with a lot of guns in films, to then watch him in Bullet Train and the action sequences in Bullet Train, I really like him. And it was that which, when I saw this headline, I was like, oh yeah, Bullet Train. He could be really good as this. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop them down below. Again, take it with a pinch of salt. It's probably bollocks. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. So drop them down below.